as you leave. I feel it, I see it as you leave. When we kiss, I went deep, but you're far away.
Life, it is said, does not consist in holding good cards, but in how well we play those cards that we hold. From the challenge life handed to her, Tola Makinde is making rainbows in the lives of children living with Down syndrome from a personal experience.
Hi, my name is Tola Makinde, the founder of Muyuluwa Rainbow Foundation, also known as Mo Rainbow Foundation, a foundation that supports children living with Down syndrome, supporting them from when they're babies into adulthood. Early intervention is our main focus. We support children to have a good life like every other child, even though they have Down syndrome. We also advocate for children living with Down syndrome. We encourage their parents to bring them out into the society for proper integration and not lock them up at home. So the foundation basically helps to give a child living with Down syndrome a close to normal life. Mo Rainbow Foundation started in the year 2014. In the year 2011, I had a daughter. Her name is Moi. We call her Mo for short. She was diagnosed with Down syndrome, and that was when the story started. So we had to help her by supporting her from infanthood. She had a heart surgery at 8 months old. She had milestone developmental delays, which is very common with children living with Down syndrome. After heart surgery, she began to do better with some skills, which, of course, she developed late, like trying to do some things like herself, like crawling, standing, walking, sitting. So after the surgery, she was able to do some of those I just mentioned, and she later, like I think after she was a year plus, she still wasn't walking, she wasn't standing. So she started walking around 1 year, 6 months, and by then I didn't find help around. And with early intervention, early intervention is very, very good for children with Down syndrome, generally with special needs children. So I didn't really find much help around, and that made me worry so much. And so what I did was, with the help of my husband and family, my parents and close family friends, they supported us by, making sure that there was no form of stigma, there was no form of people around us loved us, let me put it that way. Thereafter, we had to travel to get help, and that was where I learned how to support a child living with Down syndrome from infanthood. And that was how I started with Moyin. We're in the States of America, the United States of America. We got help that we needed with early intervention, which includes speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. On returning, we actually continued therapy, and bit by bit we're able to integrate more into mainstream education. So from there we started Mo Rainbow Foundation in 2014, when I just saw that children living with Down syndrome were being locked up in their homes. They weren't being allowed to have a good life like every other child. They were denied love, and they were not shown love. So what I did was I started, I was so proud of my daughter. So I never hid her in the house. I always brought her out. Then I met a woman and a son sometime 2014, and that was where the story started from. Our son has Down syndrome, and there hadn't been any form of intervention. So I walked up to her and introduced myself to her, and from there we became friends. But I noticed that there was no form of intervention. So I started visiting her at home. Then about 2 other families too that were hidden away, like the kids were more like hidden away. They weren't allowed to mingle because they had faced a lot of stigma in the society. They had been called names from time, and they hadn't been allowed to mingle with other kids. So because of the kind of society we find ourselves in, so sometimes parents just conclude that, okay, it's better I just leave my child at home. So the children weren't allowed to come out then. I started home visitation in 2014, and I would go visit the families, help them with early intervention, like some of those therapies I mentioned, where I had learned some of them when I traveled out of the country. So I would help them with physical therapy, all the massages they needed to do to support their child with Down syndrome. And by and large, I continued with that until one day I knew in my spirit, God just said it was time for me to go out and help other families. So I kept talking about Down syndrome everywhere. I started the Down syndrome awareness campaign, and I always had to listen for clear instructions from God. Like when He said, okay, now I was thinking, how would we go on? More rainbow, okay, fine. So what's the next step then? It dawned on me that all those things I'm saying, we have to do this, help the child with this form of therapy, that support or the other. We had to show it, like practical examples of how we want to help the children. So that made us set up the Ability Center. So it's called More Rainbow Down Syndrome Ability Center. So we had to set it up so people could come with the children to have a sense of belonging and find help over there with us. Like we have to make sure that it was an enabling environment and where we could support the children and the parents could feel at home, because we are on the same journey together. Even though most people do not expect they would have a child with one form of disability or the other, but it's okay. We just want to be there for families that have children living with Down syndrome. So we started at the center where we started helping with physical therapy, all forms of therapy, including learning support. So everything you think your child is missing in mainstream, we try to we give it to that child. Every form, it's a holistic approach. And I think so far we've had so many testimonies, and it gladdens my heart to know that a few families are able to appreciate, that's all. Appreciate us. Appreciate the concepts, because most times they look at it like, oh, I don't want my child to be segregated. But when it comes to a child with learning differences, sometimes you have to do what we call one-on-one, and that's more like segregation, because the child will not be able to learn in the mainstream, in the mainstream setting. Not that the child will not be able to go to school, but there are so many things we need to do with the child one-on-one before integration. So that's more like I'm saying segregation then integration. Segregation helps us to understand how the child learns, like the child's learning pattern, because they learn differently, and each child has its own individualized educational plan, and It helps us to assess the child because we work with consultants, consultants like we have a speech and language pathologist, we have an occupational therapist and a speech therapy aide, and we have a nanny, a caregiver, safety officer working with us at the center. Oral brushes per child. They begin to chew on this. Then we have the Z-Vibe. This is a Z-Vibe also, but it has a grabber. You know, all this go into the child's mouth to work. And you as a therapist, you learn the techniques to use, targeting specifically for each child what we are working on. Not all of them have the same challenges in the mouth. We do this for them. Most of them enjoy the vibe because we have vibrating sensations. They have a lot of sensory issues in their mouth. We sensitize their mouth, we exercise them and all that. So they use this basically to sensitize their articulators. Then we go to, we have a lot of blow activities. We have sucking activities with different kinds of straw. Sucking with different kinds of straw to strengthen the articulators to aid in speech. So all the children spend a lot of time working on this. We have different shapes and sizes, which we connect. We have connection straws to give them different levels of difficulty. So it's a progressive program. In other words, you cannot say the child that did this today has finished her sucking experience. You can still add up something else to that to make the child, you know, to make the child have a more difficult sucking experience than what that child had earlier. Okay? So we have our blowing, we still blow on this. We learn that most of them cannot blow. They can blow. This is Kyra blowing this for Auntie. Kyra blowing. Good girl, Kyra. That's Kyra blowing for Auntie. Kyra blow. That is Kyra blowing. Now that is a basic instrument for blowing. This is a more difficult. We have another level of it in this. We have a more difficult level of that in this. Sorry. Boy Makinde, she has seen her own. Boy Makinde, blow for us. Blow harder. You see, it's more difficult than this and that. She's at that level, like stage 3 blowing experience. She's blowing very well.
Yeah, thank God you heard when she said that she has started writing, to the glory of God. It's not by our own making. And there are activities that we do outside before we get to the basic graphs, like the picking of beans and even anything that will have these children to make use of these hands. Like the stringing. When you are stringing, you use this hand to hold up and string back. Then all these rice, pick rice and other activities that will enhance, that will make their hands, their grips to be firmer. Before we move on to writing, we do some writing on the magic balls and all the rest of them. Then we go into other skills that we also look at this pre-academic because of their level. We also look at, is this child able to use a pointing finger? Like if you, before now, Kyra has started bringing out this finger. I don't know if you notice. If she's pointing, if you are asking her to count, she'll be raising her hand like this. But now, you can try to shake her out to get home. You see her using this. All these things are necessary. But when the child goes to nursery, you say count, and the child is old. The teacher don't know how to take this child along to make sure that she builds on that. We have some of these things that we use to train those fingers to come out while they are holding this one down. Then that's Kyra, and Kyra is making a significant progress in that. Kayla also has, to some great extent, attained that.
And this is just for the children, for them to have good care, you know. And this is very, very paramount to me, because when we begin to see phenomenal changes in their lives, we know that it's all of those things we put together that has actually enhanced that. So we actually have families that have brought out their children to be helped, and we're so happy about that. Where we at now actually is just an office space, and we do so much. We do indoor activities, outdoor activities, learning support. We teach them numeracy, literacy, just name it, whatever. Even so many therapies that will aid their gross motor skill development, self-help skills, fine motor skills development. So we are just like out to make sure that they have a colorful life, add value to their lives, so that in our community today they will look at a child with Down syndrome, and be able to say, wow, I never knew a child with Down syndrome will be able to do this, will be able to dance, will be able to write, to be able to sing, talk. So that's our main aim, to bring succor to those families who think they've been, left behind.
And now, the Moyinyoluwa Rainbow Foundation is poised to change public perception and give children living with Down syndrome a quality start at life with early intervention, a process that calls for all hands on deck. And that is why the foundation, through its programs like the first ever walkathon, which held in Festac Town, starting from 23 Road Market down to its center at First Avenue, to its periodic parents forum, is raising awareness and challenging the status quo. So far, testimonies abound from everyone who has had cause to relate to the foundation and Tola Makinde herself, from parents of children living with Down syndrome to consultants. But just as a tree never makes a forest, Tola Makinde says much needs to be done, and is appealing to well-meaning individuals, corporate entities and outfits to please support the initiative.
Include lack of awareness. Some parents are not even aware of the situation and that a child is into. So we need more publicity, more avenues to create awareness. We need funds to be able to drive this. Apart from that, we have a small space at the moment, and the children are kind of distracted because most of what we do is one-on-one therapy. Then we also do group activities as well. So we need a bigger space. Then we need organizations to buy into this, because honestly we need them to support us, because this is a very good cause, and early intervention is the best thing that has happened to me, to my child, to my, because I know that with early intervention you can do so many, the sky is your limit. That's just it. So we need support from the government as well. Sometimes you keep writing and help is just not coming. But I'm not discouraged, because I know that I know that the future of those children will be bright. So I'm not going to truncate it. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to look back. But all I'm begging for is support from the government, support from organizations, multinational organizations, so that our children can have a good life. Let's talk about Nigeria now, Africa. The children are seen as a taboo. They're seen as a curse or a kind of bad omen. So, but I see that in other countries they support them from when they are born. Even while the mother is pregnant for a child with Down syndrome, there's some form of support, form of support for the mother. So as soon as she's having the child begins to have early intervention. So we need that, and this kind of outfit is, More Rainbow kind of outfit is designed to be able to help a newborn baby with early intervention. It helps the children go far, even though they will still have milestone developmental delays. But with this kind of setting, with this kind of outfit, we'll be sure that there's somewhere to get help. There's somewhere they can get help. There is hope. So like I always talk about the sign of the rainbow. It gives hope. So I'm saying that people need to come out and support us, the public. We need funds from the public. I'm not even ashamed to beg, because I know that if we put our hands together and move this vision forward, many of our children will benefit from this, because many more, whether we like it or not, many more children will be born with Down syndrome. So at least there can be a place where they can be referred to for early intervention and support. Mo Rainbow Foundation is on a rescue mission. So we are calling out to individuals, high net worth individuals, multinational organizations, the government, well-meaning individuals, the public at large, to support us to move this vision forward. You can sponsor a child, you can sponsor our programs, our events. We need mobility, logistics, so you can sponsor a child's operation. We have Garasini now. We've been trying to raise about 3.5 million for Dara to go for heart surgery, but we've not been able to do that in the past 6 months. You can sponsor a child's surgery, you can sponsor a child's therapy fees. Therapy fees are very, very high now because we have consultants that work with us. We have so many other free things we do for the kids. In fact, we have 2 children that are coming free of charge on sponsorship on the center. We don't charge, but you can sponsor so many other events we do. These events are very important for the mothers, the parents to be carried along and for them to continue to support their child. So we have various things you can sponsor. We need a vehicle. Some parents cannot even afford therapy fees, not to talk of even some parents are just the needy. Let's just classify them under the needy. You put them under so many filters. You are very, very, very sure that they cannot afford even to eat. Like they don't have food like that on their table. So there's so many people that need support, and they have these children living with them. The thing that comes to their mind is to lock up those children. So we need you to support us to be able to help those children, support the children, sponsor them for therapy. So it's going to help go a long way. We need your support. We're going to continue to call out for support. You can help us. We are begging you. We are seeking your help to intervene. Mo Rainbow will forever be grateful. The children, the families will forever be grateful to you. We don't want those children locked up at home. So we also need to move to a bigger place, and we need to pay rent, we need to pay salaries, we need to, even when we get a boss, we need to fund so many things to make the center, to keep the center alive. So thank you very much. I want to say a big thank you to everyone that has one way or the other supported us. Some people support us with the little they have from the US, the UK. Nothing is too small. Your widow's mite will go a long way to help a child, to stop a child from staying at home, to stop a child from being abused, to stop a child from being locked up. This is a call for you to support us to stand up and fight for Down syndrome. Thank you very much.
A kind word, a financial support, a child sponsorship can indeed go a long way in giving these children a meaningful life.